Welcome to the Deep Dive. It is Wednesday, January 28, 2026. I have to be honest with you, I looked at the stack of news this morning, the real stack, not just, the Twitter trending tab, and I actually felt a little spike of anxiety.
Mm.
You know those days where it just feels like the ground is shifting under your feet?
Oh, yeah. Today is one of those days. It really is. Usually we have a tech day or maybe a politics day, but today it feels like a convergence.
Convergence, I like that.
Yeah, the economy, the technology we use, the way we travel, and the government itself are all hitting these massive inflection points all at once.
And it's not just that things are happening, it's the scale of them. We have a Federal Reserve meeting that just wrapped up, and it feels less like a bank meeting and more like a season finale of a legal drama.
Exactly. Then you have tech giants betting the entire GDP of small nations on AI.
And Southwest Airlines changing a policy that's older than I am.
It is a lot to process, and I think the common thread here is transition. We are watching the old rules, whether that's open seating or central bank independence, get dismantled in real time.
So that is our mission today. We aren't just going to read you the headlines. We need to connect these dots. I want to understand how a Supreme Court case about a mortgage connects to the price of my coffee and why corporations are suddenly firing humans to buy computer chips.
Right.
So let's start at the top of the food chain, the Federal Reserve. They wrapped up their meeting today.
They did. And on the surface, if you just look at the number, it was boring. The Fed voted to hold the key interest rate steady.
At a range of what, 3.5% to 3.75%?
Yep.
Which, given the data, feels a little confusing to me. I was looking at the GDP numbers for the fourth quarter. We're tracking at 5.4% growth.
Monstrous growth.
Exactly. So if the economy's running that hot, why on earth would anyone even be talking about rate cuts? Wouldn't cutting rates right now just pour gasoline on a fire?
That is the multi-trillion-dollar question. You are absolutely right. 5.4% is incredibly robust. Unemployment is stabilizing. But the sticky part, the tricky part, is inflation.
Still.
Core inflation is likely hitting around 3% for December. It's somewhat elevated, to use their polite terminology.
So they're stuck. They can't raise rates because they don't want to crash the growth, but they can't
cut them either.
cut them because prices are still rising.
Precisely. They're in a holding pattern. They even removed a specific clause from their statement today that used to say they were worried about the labor market. That's gone.
So what's the message now?
Now, the message is basically the economy is fine, so we can afford to sit on our hands and wait.
But, and this is a huge but, the economic logic is almost a footnote today.
Yeah.
Because while Powell is sitting there calmly explaining interest rates, the Department of Justice is literally investigating him.
This is where we move from economics to, well, potential constitutional crisis. We learned that Chair Jerome Powell is under criminal investigation regarding the $2.5 billion renovation of the Fed's headquarters.
Okay, can we just pause on that?
Yeah.
A renovation investigation. Sounds like something a homeowners association does, not the Department of Justice targeting the most powerful banker in the world. It feels petty.
It feels petty because it's a pretext. And Powell actually came out and stated it explicitly. He said this investigation stems from President Trump's frustration over interest rates.
Oh, wow.
The subtext is screamingly loud. You didn't cut rates fast enough to help me politically, so now we are going to audit your wallpaper budget.
It's leverage.
It's a warning shot, and it connects directly to the Supreme Court case happening right now involving Fed Governor Lisa Cook.
Right.
Powell actually went to the Supreme Court to watch the arguments, which he never does. He called it perhaps the most important legal case in the Fed's 113-year history.
I read about this. The president is trying to fire Governor Cook for cause, alleging mortgage fraud regarding her residency. But again, like the renovation, is this really about a mortgage?
Not at all. The legal argument isn't about where Lisa Cook sleeps at night. It's about whether the president has the authority to fire a Fed governor at all. If the Supreme Court rules that the president can remove a governor for a cause he defines, it effectively ends the independence of the Federal Reserve.
Okay, help me visualize this. Why should the average listener who is just trying to pay their own mortgage care if the Fed is independent?
Okay, so think of the economy like a party bus. The president, any president, Republican or Democrat, is the one trying to keep the party going. They want the music loud, the drinks flowing, and the speed high because that wins votes.
Right.
The Federal Reserve is the designated driver,
The buzzkill.
the responsible adult. Their job is to take the keys away or slow the bus down when things get too crazy so we don't crash.
And if the president wins this case?
It's like giving the drunk passenger the right to fire the designated driver whenever they refuse to run a red light.
That is a terrifying image.
Uh.
So if Powell loses or if Cook is fired, the president could just install someone who sets rates to zero before an election.
Exactly. It feels great for about 12 months. It's a sugar rush, and then you end up with catastrophic inflation that destroys your savings. That is why Powell is sitting in that courtroom. He's fighting for the right to be the one who says no.
It puts that 3.5% interest rate in a whole new light. It's not just a number. It's a line in the sand. Now, speaking of lines in the sand, let's look at the companies that are actually powering this 5.4% growth. It is earnings season, and big tech dropped their numbers today.
And the theme across the board is clear. The AI bill has come due.
Let's look at Microsoft. They beat earnings estimates, but the stock dropped 5% in extended trading. Usually a beat means a party. Why the sell-off?
Because the market is starting to look at the plumbing. Cloud growth slowed just a tiny bit, and when you are valued that highly, perfection is the minimum requirement. But there was a detail in the report that I think is the real story here. Did you see the backlog numbers for OpenAI?
I did. OpenAI now makes up 35% of Microsoft's commercial backlog. That sounds risky.
It is incredibly concentrated. I mean, think about it. Nearly half of their future committed revenue in that segment is tied to a single partner. Microsoft has effectively become the utility company for Sam Altman.
They are the power plant for OpenAI.
And they benefited from it on paper. Microsoft booked a massive gain in other income because OpenAI restructured into a public benefit corporation. That diluted Microsoft's ownership stake, but the value of the company went up so much that Microsoft made a fortune on the spreadsheet.
But that's just paper money.
It is. But it justifies the billions they are spending on data centers. They are betting the farm that OpenAI is the future of computing.
Okay, so if Microsoft is betting the farm, Tesla seems to be selling the farm to buy a different farm. The report was fascinating. Revenue for the full year dropped 3%.
Yeah.
That is the first time in history Tesla has made less money than the year before.
It marks the end of their hypergrowth phase as a car company. The EV market is saturated and competition is fierce. But Elon Musk isn't trying to fix the car business. He's pivoting to something else entirely.
The Cybercab and the Optimus robot.
Right. They're tooling up production for cars with no steering wheels and no pedals. And catch this, Tesla is investing about $2 billion into Musk's other company, xAI.
That feels like taking money from one pocket and putting it into another.
It raises huge governance questions. But Musk's argument is that a car is just a robot on wheels. To make the robotaxi work, you need the brain. xAI builds the brain. Tesla builds the body.
So he's betting the future isn't selling you a Model Y.
It's selling you a ride in a car that drives itself.
Then you have Meta Facebook. Their stock jumped 10%, mostly because their ad machine is printing money again. But I looked at the losses for Reality Labs, the VR division. They lost $6.02 billion in 1 quarter.
It is a staggering amount of money. Since 2020, they have burned nearly $80 billion on the metaverse. That is more than the market cap afford.
That's what I mean about the capital versus labor tension here. You see these companies burning billions on chips and VR headsets, and at the same time, we get news that Amazon is laying off 16,000 corporate workers.
That is the crucial connection. Amazon says they are cutting bureaucracy, but look at where the money is going. They're firing middle managers to buy GPUs. We are seeing a massive transfer of wealth from human payrolls to AI infrastructure.
It's not just efficiency. It's a fundamental change in what these companies value. They value compute over headcount.
That's the harsh reality of this earnings season. The AI pivot isn't free. It's being paid for by the Reality Labs losses and the Amazon layoffs.
Which brings us down to the ground level, because this obsession with efficiency and monetization is bleeding into our actual daily lives. If you are a traveler, you probably felt a disturbance in the force this week. Southwest Airlines just killed open seating.
After 54 years, the cattle call is dead.
I have to admit, I have a love-hate relationship with Southwest. The boarding process was chaotic, sure, but there was something, I don't know, democratic about it. If you checked in on time, you got a good seat. It didn't matter if you were a CEO or a student.
That's gone now. And it's gone because the democratic model doesn't maximize profit. Southwest needs to hit $4 a share in earnings by 2026, and the only way to do that is to segment the cabin.
So it's about money.
They found that 80% of people prefer assigned seats, but the real driver here is the ability to charge for premium legroom.
It's the classification of the last egalitarian airline.
It really is. I read about the last flight with open seating a red-eye from Honolulu to LA. The crew cheered, passengers got commemorative bag tags. It was like a funeral for an era of travel where serendipity was still a thing. Now it's just another transaction.
Serendipity is dead. Long live the upcharge. And it seems like Starbucks is trying to figure out their own identity crisis right now, too.
But in the opposite direction, under their new CEO, Brian Niccol, traffic is actually up 3%. It's the first growth in 2 years.
And his strategy.
It's basically, stop trying to be a tech company and just make coffee.
Radical concept.
He calls it green apron service. He wants to speed up the service, sure, but he also wants the cafes to feel like cafes again, not factories.
It's interesting that while Southwest is becoming more rigid and efficient, Starbucks is finding success by bringing back a little bit of humanity.
It shows that consumers are tired of friction. We are tired of waiting 15 minutes for a latte, and we are tired of the anxiety of finding a seat on a plane. But for other retailers, there is no coming back.
Like Allbirds.
Yeah, Allbirds is closing all their U.S. stores.
A shoe company. I thought they were everywhere.
They were the poster child for direct-to-consumer. But the math of paying rent for physical stores just doesn't work for them anymore. They are going back to wholesale. It's another sign that the middle is disappearing. You are either a luxury experience like the new Southwest wants to be, or you are a digital algorithm like Amazon.
That brings us to our final segment. We talked about corporate policy. Now we have to talk about government policy. Because there was a strange mix of giving and taking happening in Washington right now, let's talk about these Trump accounts.
This is a fascinating policy experiment. The administration is rolling out a plan where the government deposits $1,000 for every child born between 2025 and 2028.
So a baby is born and they get $1,000. What is the logic there?
It's based on the concept of baby bonds, which actually originated with a hedge fund manager named Brad Gerstner. The math is about compound interest.
Right.
If you invest $1,000 at birth and let it sit in the market for 18 or 20 years, it grows into a significant nest egg. It's an attempt to narrow the wealth gap by making everyone an investor from day one.
And I saw that Wall Street is jumping on this pile. JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America are matching the $1,000 for their employees.
Which is smart retention policy for them, but it amplifies the effect. Suddenly, a child starts life with $2,000 compounding. It's a very populist, very optimistic policy.
But, and there is always a but, with this Congress, at the exact same time we are planning for the financial future of newborns, the government might shut down this Saturday.
The irony is thick. We are talking about 18-year compound interest while we can't keep the lights on for another 48 hours.
And the reason for the shutdown threat is incredibly heavy. This isn't just about budget numbers. It's tied to the civil unrest in Minnesota.
Right. We have seen the protests over the killings of Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good by federal agents. It has sparked a massive outcry, and Senate Democrats are blocking funding for the Department of Homeland Security.
Until what?
Until there is an overhaul of ICE and federal policing tactics.
I noticed a shift in tone from the White House on this. A few days ago, the administration was defending the agents, calling the victims terrorists. Now they seem to be dialing it back.
They looked at the polling. Approval ratings on immigration and handling of unrest dropped sharply, so now they are trying to de-escalate. But the Senate Democrats aren't budging, and Republicans refuse to strip the DHS funding from the spending bill. It's a stalemate.
So we have a potential government shutdown, massive civil unrest over police violence, and a constitutional crisis at the Fed.
Yeah.
All while we hand out $1,000 checks to babies.
It just highlights the disjointed nature of the moment. We have these long-term visions, AI, baby bonds, Mars colonies, colliding with immediate, messy crises like shutdowns and riots.
And just to add one more layer of chaos, crypto is entering the chat.
In a big way. A PAC called Fairshake just raised $193 million to influence the midterms.
Wow.
We are talking money from Ripple, Coinbase, and Andreessen Horowitz. Crypto is becoming one of the biggest political spenders in history.
Well, $193 million buys a lot of influence.
It does, and it suggests that the rules of the future financial system are being written right now by the highest bidder.
So, for the listener trying to make sense of this, gold is at $5,100.
And silver is over $100. That is the fear index. When people see the Fed under attack, the government shutting down, and AI disrupting labor, they run to hard assets.
Let's try to land this plane, hopefully with an assigned seat. We have covered a lot. The Fed is fighting for independence. Tech is pivoting to machines over people. Southwest is monetizing legroom. And the government is caught between investing in babies and fighting over police reform. What is the big takeaway here?
For me, it's about the tension between efficiency and agency. Look at every story we discussed. The efficiency move is to fire the humans and buy AI. The efficiency move is to politically pressure the Fed for short-term gain.
But in that pursuit of efficiency, we are losing something. We are losing the agency of the designated driver. We are losing the serendipity of travel. We are losing the stability of a job that isn't done by a robot.
Exactly. We're building a world that is faster, optimized, and technically richer. I mean, look at GDP, but it feels more volatile and, well, less human.
So the question for you, the learner, as you navigate this week, are you just a data point to be optimized in this new efficient world? Or can you find a way to maintain your own agency, your own independence, like Powell, when the pressure is on?
And maybe, just maybe, take the $1,000 government check and buy some gold, just in case.
Sound advice. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll be watching the news stack so you don't have to.